If you guys have never been to a martial arts school that dresses you up in painter's coveralls and then gives you a marker and tells you to go at each other and then counts up the fatal blows, that's not a real martial arts school. That's what you should be doing if you're learning how to fight, is learning how to fight with a marker as if it were a scalpel. Hey guys, this is John with the Alpha Channel update for Thursday, June 13th, 2024 here in Los Angeles. And today, before we get into the art and other commentary, we have Conan, Death in the Land of Dagon by John Buscema and Roy Thomas. This is very good. I didn't talk about how good the art was in the last one because it was awesome. The story was garbage, but the art was incredible. You know, it was so good that you didn't have to comment on it, which is exactly how this book is. This is like reading a little film. John Buscema is so good at working out what needs to be textured, what's foreground, what's background. Every panel is incredible. Look at this 2-page layout here. I read this today. Conan and some guys he's actually having a fight with, some African tribesmen, are being attacked by a wild boar, and it's chasing them up into the trees. And Conan and this guy this guy actually kicks Conan out of the tree. See here down in the bottom panel, the first page. And then he jumps down to run away from the boar, thinking the boar will chase Conan. Conan catches a vine, and now the guy is on the ground alone. And even though he's his enemy, Conan jumps down with a knife to rescue him and kill the boar. And you don't even have time to eat it for dinner because Conan's got some other drama going on from the last issue. This is one of the first issues where Roy Thomas is writing new scripts, and they're not single issues. They're not single issue adventures. This is a multi-issue adventure where Conan's met Bellet, and she's been kidnapped by a guy named Amra, who this is an interesting issue. This is an interesting issue. Here's Conan killing the wild boar, and just look at John Buscema's artwork. It is amazing. It's as good as comics ever get. Especially back when you only had CMYK 4-color process, and this was all done by hand, no computers involved. This is all comics need to be. All this stuff you're getting today, a lot of it, the artwork's overdone and the story's undercooked. And that's the problem with our entire culture right now, and that's why I went off on what I've been going off last few days. Here is Amra. Amra is a blonde, redheaded Tarzan who grew up with lions instead of monkeys. And he now is the head of a pack of lions, and Bellet is his prisoner, and he's going to make her the head of his harem. He has, like a lion, he has multiple wives, and she's not having it, but he drags her along with him anyhow. And Conan is out looking for her. And the tribesmen know where Amra's spot is at. And he describes his whole sort of childhood, how he got here. That's what these pages are. This is the Conan backstory, essentially. It's the exact same thing. His father fled his homeland. His mom wasn't with him, and he fled, so it wasn't quite the same as an exploration. But Conan was then trapped Amra was then trapped in the jungle and raised with this black lion named Sholo, kind of like Numa. Numa is the lion. Sabor and Numa were the lions in Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan story. And of course I know their names. I've read Tarzan dozens of times, and there's a lot of books. Tarzan's awesome. Tarzan is the most racist book ever written because it shows you how a white guy on a continent just dominates the entire planet, which is what we've done. There's not a lot to say. This art is amazing. The story is actually very good. It keeps you turning the pages. Amra is just like another Conan. They haven't met yet. And I know there's a point in this story where Conan says he will not have a name until he gets back his girl, which I think is like when you've been wronged or disrespected in this tribal culture, you're stripped of your name. because your name is your power, I guess is what they believed back then, which makes sense. It goes with a lot of cultures. And so Conan is going to go take this guy's name, because I know later he's called Amra. It's one of his nicknames. And this is only book, what is this? Book 62, Conan the Barbarian 62. This is where Conan the Barbarian gets the name Amra. I never read this. I bought it and didn't read it because I was just collecting them at this. I bought this when I had lots of money and not a lot of time. So, let's see. And then when I sold all my comics, I wouldn't sell the Conans. Conans were the ones I kept. It was a good thing to go through selling all your comics, and to go through giving away. I gave a lot of them away to my nieces and nephews. So that's a good process to go through in life as you get older, you know. Clutching on to things collecting things has its own appeal, but giving things away is a different kind of joy, and you should get to know it. So here's here's Amra with bringing Belit back to his harem, and the queen girl starts talking smack, and Belit kicks her in the stomach. Belit's got her hands tied behind her back, this is down here, and she kicks this other queen in the stomach. This is her on the cover, the other queen. And they have a little fight. And then Amra grabs her hand as she tries to kill her, holds her back. So we're going to skip a page here. But I am going to show Conan fighting off this leopard, this jaguar right here. This is pretty awesome. A jaguar goes to kill, I believe it's the other, yeah. So there's a few things that happen here. This is just an amazingly drawn comic. The next page is the backstory for the Black Queen, and it's the cliffhanger for the next issue. So that's where we're going to leave it. Conan the Barbarian 62. Amazing artwork by John Buscema. Every page is a masterpiece. Really, really, no complaints. And it flows. It's as good as Gil Kane, but it has the passion of Barry Smith. He's as good of a draftsman. Whereas you can tell, or not, he's as good as that's exactly what I meant to say. He's as good as a draftsman in terms of layout and flow as Gil Kane. That's kind of where Barry Smith struggled, was making one panel fit to the next and giving each story beat enough space in the story. Although I don't know how much that has to do with the writing. I really, it's hard to judge when you're not right there in the middle of it. And I'm doing my own pages, and I have the luxury of time. These guys are on massive deadlines. So, but that does bring me to what I've been talking about a lot in the cultural entertainment world. And I feel part of the reason I'm doing this, part of the reason I've gone back to comics, I haven't gone back to comics for, really, I bought them all through up until about 2007, maybe was when I stopped buying. Whereas the comic book culture got really, you could tell they were cutting corners. They're pushing celebrated artists out because the celebrated artists were getting more expensive. And they're chasing the variant covers instead of chasing trade paperbacks and story arcs. Comics should have done what television did. Comics should have chased short story arcs, what television did. When television got into streaming, they started with, and cable, HBO started spending more money on individual episodes and doing shorter seasons, like The Sopranos and whatever, all the other stuff that they did. I think The Sopranos was really the start of it. There was probably a few others that I'm forgetting about. I know Deadwood was really big, but there was a bunch of them. And then all of cable started doing this and doing 10 episode seasons where the entire season is shot before the pilot is sold, in some cases, or maybe not sold, but definitely before it's aired. The entire season is shot before any of it's aired, and maybe the pilot is sold to a distribution company, of course, because sometimes you have to do that. But when the distribution company is producing it themselves, all they have to do is sign off on it, and that gave us things like Game of Thrones. Comics tried to learn this, but didn't. Because comics doesn't respect the writers to this very day. Since Image happened, writers have taken a back seat in comics. The publishers don't respect the writers because the publishers don't respect the budget. I was listening to Glenn Danzig talk today. A lot of comics and a lot of television is about humiliation rituals, and I'll explain why I'm not getting what I want out of it. Glenn Danzig was talking about how for the album with Mother on it, I think that's the album with, I think it's one of his first ones. I don't know if it's the one with Dirty Black Summer or not. Anyhow, it doesn't really matter. I think it's the one with Twisted Cane. It might have been Danzig 2. It doesn't really matter. The record company forced him to submit a bid to shoot the music video for his own fucking album. And he was describing that doing this interview that came out in like 96 or something. That is a goddamn humiliation ritual. What the record industry does to musicians is a massive anti-white humiliation ritual. It is, by the bankers and the small hats who own the entertainment industry in this country. Everything they do is humiliation rituals. Their first look deals with scriptwriters are humiliation rituals. I'm so glad I got into Hollywood as a laborer and never as an above-the-line talent, because I've been able to watch what they do to people who are in the club with last names like Berg, Stein, Blatt, Gold, Fine. Those people get in the club and make money. The other guys get in the club and get raped and get exploited and never really find out why. And we're finding out why now. So this is important. This market is not being serviced in modern entertainment. I know because I am this market. Tell me where I can find anything like this. It practically doesn't even exist. It's not even really in the independent sphere. You have to look very hard for it. I think the comic book Sync is the last one I read that had this level of energy, and Punisher has the same thing. Sync, I think my niece has it right now, but I'll buy a new copy to review it here. I didn't know I was going to do comic book reviews on this channel. It took me 40 episodes to burn out showing other stuff and what I want to say to get to doing this. And like I said, I'm out of stuff to watch. Shakespeare says there's 7 plots. A lot of writers nowadays, the art of writing has developed and things are being named. TV tropes has a lot of great, when it comes to fiction writing, tropes are being identified and named, and that's a big deal. Naming things is how you are able to replicate them. So what's happening is one of the great synthesists, and this happened way before Shakespeare, is that there's only 2 plays, a comedy and a tragedy. There's another way to say that too. There's only 2 altars being serviced, love and death, or beauty and death, or maybe not beauty, but sex and death is the other way to say it. But they're definitely 2 poles, and I know which altar I worship at. My dreams are all nightmares, and I'm so happy for it. You guys have no idea what toxic really means when you say it. I'm a non-practicing serial killer. Let that sink in for a minute. I don't really fantasize about sleeping with all the girls as much as I fantasize about having knife fights with just about everybody I meet. If you guys have never been to a martial arts school that dresses you up in painter's coveralls and then gives you a marker and tells you to go at each other and then counts up the fatal blows, that's not a real martial arts school. That's what you should be doing if you're learning how to fight, is learning how to fight with a marker as if it were a scalpel. Let me show you my absolute favorite EDC. This is a Murphy knife. You know, blood. When you first, so I was playing hockey not too long ago, and my thumb got split open and my stick, it just got drenched with blood. And at first it's slippery, but it gets sticky really fast, and it's like extra grip. This is called a Murphy knife. This is a surgical blade. This is featured in one of my novels. One of the main characters, Kid Lethal, carries this with him everywhere he goes. And as a solid aluminum handle, it's set into the blade. And it's the most functional thing mankind has ever created. This is what gave us so much. This is the riddle of steel. This you can trust. So I know when it comes to entertainment, what altar I worship at. I don't care about porn. I want literal murder porn. I'm not into Faces of Death. That's not the most interesting thing. David Finch in one of his videos said, someone asked him, and I had this bookmarked for a long time before I started this channel. I thought I was going to start this channel with clips of other people's videos. As an editor, I know how to do that. I also know how much work it is. I'd rather just tell you guys to go watch David Finch. He does draw streams every Monday night. I've learned a ton from that guy. You can see it in my artwork, how much influence he's been to me. I got a hold of his drawing videos from Noman. I took some paid classes at Noman School of Visual Arts out here in LA. And he had some paid DVDs that were just incredible. So he said, someone asked him, what's your favorite moment to draw? And he said, the moment right before a fight. And that is the most charged moment in all of mankind, right before a fight. Way more than right before sex. Maybe for a woman it's right before sex, because women don't fight. Not really. They don't know what fighting is. They might get into a brawl with each other and go beast mode like you see the savages in our society doing. But those aren't modern savages. Those are primitive savages. Modern savages are guys like me, who are in control, who are non-practicing serial killers, just waiting for the world without rule of law to collapse so I can go on a rampage of murder and arson like this world has never fucking seen. I'm so excited about it. Both sides of my mind are manifesting my reality. I'm either going to get one that's love and flowers and I get to do art for a living, which I'm doing right now and I'm incredibly happy and I hope this continues, or the world's going to collapse and I get to do everything that I've trained my entire life to do. I've studied pretty much every martial art I could get my hands on, and the two most important ones are not jiu-jitsu. I did wrestling and jiu-jitsu, yeah, it's great, but I don't want to wrestle you on asphalt ground. I want to keep my stance. I want to do horse stance. Horse stance is everything. If you can stay here for an extended period of time, you can do all the wrestling moves without ever getting on the ground. So jiu-jitsu is important, yeah, but so is strong legs, so is everything. Being able to fight standing up and not falling down. The most important martial art I've studied is a secret one called Nigong. It's between Tai Chi and Kung Fu. Actually, I think it's previous to Tai Chi. You should learn Nigong, Tai Chi, and then Kung Fu. And you have to go looking for a Nigong teacher. Luckily, I'm in Los Angeles, and I found an amazing guy who studied under I want to say his name is Shir Liu, but I think that's a cartoon character from New York, from Times Square. He has a school in Times Square, and this guy wrote the book for him. He studied with him for a long, long time. They took it from 700 pages and condensed it to like a spiral-bound book. I have it here. It's the most important thing I've ever learned. So this is not being serviced in entertainment today. And the reason it's not being serviced is because most entertainment today is anti-white propaganda designed to destroy your culture. It's been done to you in about 30 to 40 years. You could say it started when they killed Kennedy. You could say it started before World War I. You could say it started back with the Medes, who created media, and it's sort of the dawn of spelling. But really, it's older than that. There's just happens, look, I don't blame the people who are doing this for doing it. It's what I would do in their situation. It's their dumb luck that the mask has slipped and we know who they are. They're not doing anything anyone else wouldn't do, but it doesn't matter. The karma is still going to come due. They're not going to get a pardon for it. Just because everybody else would have done it doesn't mean you're going to get a pardon for it. You're still going to pay for the crimes. And you've been paying for them for a long time, and it's not going to ever stop. So enjoy it while you're on top, but the problem is that the few who are benefiting from it, the collective is going to suffer. Just like what you've done with us. A few white guys benefited, the guys who own the military-industrial complex, but you punished us collectively. A few Rockefellers and Rothschilds run your bit, but you're going to be punished collectively because the rest of you enjoyed it. The rest of you walk around all puffed up. And you're not alphas. You're not alphas. You can't fight. You can't fight. You've never fielded, the army you have is not yours. You've never fielded an army in battle. The army you have is not yours, it's ours. It wouldn't exist without $1 million a day from us. You wouldn't exist without us. Which really means you don't exist. You're a paper tiger. You're a hollow shell. And you might even take me out, you know? I don't really give a fuck. I'm going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing. And next, we have the Wildwood Tarot. And today, Wildwood Tarot earns its name. This is the Wildwood today. This is the wood. Today, Wildwood Tarot is bringing the wood with the 5 of bows, empowerment. Here you go. Take a look at this. Get a gander of the Nubian hillside there. This guy is happy to see you. His Wildwood staff is standing straight up. So, and there's 4 bows in the foreground, and then he's holding one and holding a cudgel to swing at you. But yeah, Wildwood Tarot is very green today. So this is it's a great deck. You never know what you're gonna get. It's always a surprise. So anyhow, it's getting late and I got a bunch of other stuff to do. Oh, I do want to show you guys a couple updates in some art. This was really like hairy yesterday, but I thinned out the lines, I touched it up and then made her face too big. So she's got a giant troll head right now that has to be reduced. And it's really because I made the eyes too big, so I need to make the eyes smaller. And I gave Robin Hood here an outfit. That's kind of cool. Other than that, not a lot of work, mostly script work yesterday, trying to figure out how many pages I need, how few pages I need for the first volume of this story. I think it's going to be a 3-volume story. I'm looking at about 90 to 100 pages per volume. I know those are multiples of 22. 4 books would be 88 pages. 5 books would be 206. So no, that's wrong. 206. I'm gonna have to cut that out. That's retarded. Be 110, which is fine. 120 is a movie, you know. But yeah, I want to see if I don't know how many I need. I need to introduce the bad guys. The problem is that I have lots of ideas for side tangent stories that'd be really fun and give it a nice uplifting tone. But I really want to. My stories. Definitely, I have a writing style that starts very happy and then it takes a gradual turn by the main character's pursuit that ends them up in a place they didn't expect, and then they have to make a change to get out of it. That's really what I've done with all my stories. The best intentions, and you could say it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. You know, the way to hell is paved with good intentions. And at what point do you find out that you're on the road to hell and whoa, we gotta redo this. So other than that, I do want to plug this again, The Robe by Lloyd C. Douglas. There's a final chapter in here that is it's worth every page. I may take some time this weekend and read it to you guys, but I'm gonna have to put on my glasses and figure out how to set that up. So also check out Trials of Ash, Legacy of a Mad Scientist and the Legend of Ashley Fox here on YouTube. 26 hours of audiobooks for you guys. Ride skateboard, have fun, see ya.